Yeah.
Hello. I am here with my friends Kevin and Roger. So hi, fellas.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Joey. Today it's my day to actually to lead our little I don't know journey down this lore hole.
Man, we really gotta get like an intro thing.
Yeah.
Something to say at the beginning.
You don't like when I say we're gonna go down a lore hole?
I do like it.
I did.
Maybe.
I didn't think I would. I did. I think that's the part that scares me.
Yeah.
I want to open today with a question and see how long it takes you guys. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. I want to see if you guys can figure out what the theme is going to be for the week. Okay. All right.
Okay.
What makes cookies, shoots arrows, is 1 foot tall and 6 feet tall?
Ooh.
It is free if you give it a sock. And if you deny that Tolkien invented it, your cellmate will kick the shit out of you in prison.
What? I mean, it's clearly a Keebler elf.
What?
Yeah, so it's elves.
Yeah.
Oh.
Elves in general. So we're gonna be talking about all those things.
I like that. I like the. Can we start every episode with a riddle?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
That's a very good idea.
Way good.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk. So honestly, I was like, I'm going to jump in and find something to talk about that I don't really know anything about. And my first instinct was, I bet Iceland has something nice. And so I just Googled Iceland myths. And what came up was elves, which was ended up being really interesting on its own. My plan was just to talk about the general perception of elves in Iceland. But then I just had too many questions. I wanted to know, and they were unanswered. I was wondering why in folklore are elves tiny, and why do some of us perceive them as little things that create stuff like at Christmas, and in other stories they're just like really tall, handsome, like, invulnerable creatures. And so we're just gonna be talking about elves in general today.
I like that.
Uh-huh. Joey, I'm still have my mind wrapped around that riddle. I get the part with the 1 foot or 2 foot or whatever, short, tall, makes cookies, throw a sock at it.
Dobby, the house elf from
Dobby?
the
house elf. What's the one where if you deny that Tolkien created them, you get your shit kicked out of you in jail?
There's a Vice article about a guy named Jack Hill, who was the article was just about like stories about crazy prison mates, like and his whole story was this guy was just kind of out of it, and they were watching Lord of the Rings, but this guy was so adamant about Tolkien being the one who invented elves. Which is not a valid statement in a weird way. Actually, we'll get to that though.
Cool.
And when he said that's not true, right? The other guy got so angry he just said, "Shut the fucking door," and they just fought. And the guy choked him out and concussed him.
Oh man,
so,
that's very good.
Yeah, because he didn't want to believe it.
I love the idea.
Does that make you kind of like prison? That makes me feel like prison might be kind of fun. Right.
Well, I mean, I've read several articles about prison now, and another one was just about Dungeons and Dragons in general. There's a whole thing about dogs and how you can have a dog friend. That's really cool.
It makes it seem like camp, right?
Yeah, and there's TVs now, and I don't want to go to prison. That's like my number one thing I don't want.
But if we have no fear of prison, it kind of opens up a lot more options in our lives. You know what I mean?
For camp.
All crime.
I do know what you mean.
I'm going to commit a crime this week.
Okay.
Ask me next week what crime I commit, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
How big? On a scale of 1 to 10, how big is this crime?
We're just going to have to wait and see, I guess.
Okay.
I'm betting it's going to be shoplifting.
I do like to shoplift. That's true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think I just like elves, guys. I think I'm in a not weird way. I'm attracted to an elf, and it makes sense to me because I feel like they're naturally beautiful and they're like good at stuff.
I mean,
they're blonde. I like blondes. I'm into that.
That's true. I think that's kind of like
Joey. I don't think you can.
I'm sorry. That's like part of an elf's thing, though, right? They're alluring.
Some of them, yes.
Oh,
yeah. Dobby's not.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different kinds.
That's a very good point.
It's all Dobbies.
Dobby is not alluring.
Very bashful.
Yeah, in his burlap sack.
Yeah.
I guess there are things to be attracted to.
I love to just imagine just pulling the string on the top of Dobby's burlap sack and just letting it fall. You know?
Seeing all 12 of his nipples.
And just seeing what's underneath. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just got one sock. That's why he needed the sock so bad.
That's what you have to do when you're set free.
Yeah, he just needed a sock for his wiener. He was embarrassed.
Dirty sock.
Well, I mean,
it's freeing on many levels.
Based on my research of all this lore, you're absolutely correct. That's actually it. So we're done for the week.
Great, good episode.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Okay.
Joey, I don't think you can just say not in a weird way at the start of something. And
I know. Because if I say like, I think elves are hot, and then suddenly I'm a weirdo. Like, I don't want to do that.
You can't just say, I think elves are hot, but not in a weird way.
No, but I didn't. No. I think it makes sense because they're just pretty much humans with pointy ears. So that's fine.
So you're just really into the pointy ears.
Also, I mean, honestly, if I had to think about, if we're going to be real about this, you have to think about the things that make you attracted to whatever you're attracted to. And I've always been attracted to like blonde women, like skinny blonde women. And like and glowing white things that are beautiful and in tune with nature.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm really only like I'm definitely mostly attracted to like humans,
yeah,
and people that are like me.
All right, whatever, Square. It's 2018. Get real. No, but
you need to open up your heart a little bit.
Okay, but I guess here's the other part: is that you know how like people are attracted to weird quirks. Like I like a crooked smile. Oh, I like heterochromia and eyeballs. I like ears that kind of stick out.
Yeah.
So I figured between those couple of things, it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know.
Can you?
This is a part of the story.
I was
just saying I had to get that off my chest.
Joey, are you saying affirmative right now that you are attracted to pointy ears?
I would say, I guess, yeah. Not like super pointy ears, like realistic ones.
Yeah, you don't want to like cut yourself on them.
Yeah, no, I got two cuts on my hand.
That's a real body modification thing, though. Girls, or not girls, but people in general will get their ears modified to be pointy. Do you like that? Or would that be too much for you?
No. I don't like any of that body mods. I mean, whatever. Someone wants to do that's cool with me. I don't care, but I'm not into that.
But if you met somebody and they had pointy ears that they had modified to be that way, would you like it, or would that be too much?
That might be a little much. Like, you know how like people like bore holes in their skulls so they can have like spikes sticking out and like slice their tongue so they have snake tongue. Like that's like it falls in that same category.
Yeah.
I'm just not. But you don't like that.
I don't like that.
You do like pointy ears.
I like naturally pointy ears, ones that are like kind of real, like human pointy ears, but also ears that kind of stick out a little. I don't know. I just like that. I like collarbones too. I don't know.
You know, my ears stick out a little bit.
And I like you. You're my best friend.
Thanks.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
We got to figure it out.
Kevin, you're also my best friend.
No, it's all right. I know
Kevin, you're my best friend, and Joey's probably yours. It's like a circle.
Yeah.
It's a chain.
We're a best friend triangle.
This is great.
Brian has pointy ears, kind of, right?
No, his ears are round as fuck, man. They're like
too round.
They're like a
too round.
Yeah, like a blueberry.
All right, can we go to Iceland now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to Iceland. Okay, so I'm starting here, but just know that this isn't the beginning of everything. I'm going to try to tie it all together in the most cohesive way I possibly can, and I'm such a disorganized person, it's going to be whack.
Okay.
So,
all right.
We're going to start off with what's called the Hudul folk, which means hidden people. So, the gist of it is this. In Iceland, people believe that elves are actually real. And that's
like currently?
They currently legitimately believe that elves are real. And there's different varying degrees of that.
Like
but
some like fringe people, in the same way that some people here believe that there's aliens at Area 51, or it's like a common belief?
It is a common belief. And there's parts that kind of pop in and out in terms of like, so this like a third of the people believe this is 100% legit. A third of them say they don't believe in it, and but they still are going to be careful about it. And I'll explain like how more or less I've interpreted that as I've done my reading and all that and all that stuff. So in the past, and it's not even just in Iceland, it's in a lot of like old texts, and it goes past like it's like Anglo-Saxon texts and Greek texts and all this stuff. There's this term Elfar, and Elfar just means an elf.
I'm sorry, Elfart?
Yeah, elf fart. Elf like the puppet.
Yeah.
So he's actually modeled after. No, I'm just kidding.
He does have pointy ears, though.
He does have pointy ears. Now we get to the real meat of it.
Man, he looks good. I mean, what? So Alfar, but that term is synonymous more or less with hoodle folk. Hoodle folk is a euphemism. It means hidden people because more or less they're invisible, but not really. But kind of. So everything I'm going to tell you today is kind of, but not really. But also
like the Predator.
Also, yes, like the Predator. They're just as dangerous. So, but anyway, I thought at first it was kind of like you just can't say Alfar because it's kind of like Voldemort. You can't really say his name. But as it turns out, that term and like the term fairy and like a lot of other terms that are associated with things that are part of what elves come from are supposed to be like, they're kind of like racist to say.
Oh, really?
So like you wouldn't say that to an actual fairy. So you don't say it out loud because fairies are real. Essentially is what it coming.
And a fairy might be around, so you don't want to offend them.
Huh. And in Iceland, they believe truly that the fairies are always around. Like there's a story of a lady who more or less like she wanted to build her house, but there was this rock. So, I should probably explain this. The fairies all live within rocks, and they're invisible, and we can't see them, but they live within the rocks. But sometimes they will more or less make themselves visible. But then also the other interpretation of that, because again, I was telling you that it's like kind of, but not really, that there are seers. There are people who more or less, they communicate with the fairies for people who can't see them. And it's called the third eye. So those people.
Is that what third eye blind is about?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Like that's just like a normal person.
A normal person from Iceland, yeah. So I was actually thinking that maybe we could just put on semi-charmed kind of life in the background for during this podcast, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, the idea is these terms like fairy and elf and dwarf and nymph and fairy and mare is another one, or mare. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
That's where nightmare comes from, right?
Yeah, because there's a whole like tradition of like when you sleep. So you know what an incubus is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know what an incubus is, it's like
I don't.
Okay, so it's like there's two interpretations of it, but more or less it's like a bad male fairy or a bad male ghost that tries to more or less sexually attack women at night while they're sleeping.
Is that like a male succubus?
Yeah, it's a male succubus.
Exactly. Yeah. So but then there's also like the mare. Maybe pronounce it different. Mare. I don't know how to say it.
I think the one that I know about is like a French word. So I think there's probably different variations.
And they like sit on your chest while you're sleeping and stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of these terms, and they're all kind of related in different interpretations and different like texts of like these iterations of elves that would eventually turn into the elves that we know. They have different abilities and different tendencies and stuff like that. So
can I interject really quick about the Mara or the mare?
Yes.
So you know how the belief is that they sit on your chest in the middle of the night and they fill your head with like terrible visions. That is sleep paralysis. Have you guys ever had sleep paralysis?
Yeah, because remember I thought I was haunted for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
right.
sure it's just that.
So you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't really move, and there's a pressure on your chest, and you see just terrible visions. They thought that was the Mara sitting on your chest to make it so you couldn't move and you couldn't breathe, and just filling your head with nightmares, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
What if I sleep on my side?
Then you're safe.
Yeah.
But that's actually true.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Yeah.
If you sleep on your side, you don't get sleep paralysis.
It's if you sleep on your back, I believe, right? That's how you get it.
Because that's how the Mara sits on your chest.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that I might become a believer at the end of this podcast.
Yeah, it's very convincing.
Can I tell you guys a secret about how I sleep to avoid the Mara?
Yeah.
So, you have to lay down. Your face has to be straight downward into the pillow. And then you have to put your hands flat against the bed with the top of your hands touching the bed. And you put your butt in the air really, really high.
You stick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how is he going to sit on that? It'll just fall off.
It's true.
It's a slide now.
And then you could just
That's how you placate it. And then you have a fun time.
Then now you have a fun dream friend. And then when he comes around, you guys just laugh and everybody has a good time together.
Yeah.
So
shorts or no shorts?
Genius.
Me or him?
You.
Well, I'm wearing cut-off jean shorts. He's also wearing shorts. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's good. So now we understand that this is, the terms are going to kind of come from a bunch of different places. We'll talk about all the different things that I've picked up on in a minute. We can just go back to Iceland. So they live in the rocks. They can take on a human form. The ones that they usually see are between 1 and 3 feet tall, but they can also appear as a human. So you have to be kind of aware, because elves they're not pranksters, but they are kind of like sneaky, and they might steal your children away.
So that's not really a prank.
No, they're not pranksters, but like they'll do stuff.
Stealing a person's child is a crime.
Yeah. So
is that the one you're going to do this week, Roger?
That might be the one that I do this week. I'm just setting it up.
Oh no. Yeah, so it's not a prank. Stop taking kids, guys. So I'm just gonna give you a couple examples. I told you about that lady with the rock. So she decided to build her house around the rock because she didn't have permission to move this giant rock where they were. So imagine like it's the size of like, I don't know, it's 4 feet by 4 feet. And she's like, well, I couldn't do it, but they gave me permission to build my house around it. So she just has a big rock in her living room.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
But there's a whole other thing now, and it's like this kind of debated upon place called Galgaron, and they want to build more or less, it's like a main like highway road through this like, it's kind of like lava fields, I guess. I don't know how to describe it because I've never been to a lava field, but it just looks like, it's like kind of islandy with like lava stuff. And because there's so many rock formations over there, like half the population is saying like, no, like we can't do that. And then the other half is like, well, we kind of need to. It's going to make things good. So we just need to get permission from the elves, because if you are someone with the third eye, you can talk to them and ask them. And that's how people communicate who don't have that third eye with the elves who actually live there.
And this is present. This is present day.
This present day.
This is like happening right now.
Yes. And so there are people who are kind of campaigning against the idea of building that road. And the term that they have in Iceland is Hranavinir, which just means like you're a lava friend, which I like.
That is good.
But anyway, so they're warning. They're saying like, look, if we do something, if we build here, very bad things are going to happen. And now this is like more or less the modern history. That's where it comes in, is that there is a reputation that the government has a branch or that they intervene. That's how significant it is that elves are so much integrated in everybody's lives in Iceland that if you want to build or do anything, you need to have their permission. Otherwise, the non-pranky bad part of the elves can come out. And there's going to be more history behind that. So we're going to talk about like elf shot in a minute. But just understand that if you do try to go against them, they will make you sick. They will take your kids. They will make your kids sick. They will like ruin your businesses or kill your cattle and stuff like that. And so it's just a very, very highly, it's agreed upon that you don't mess with elf stuff. Now here's where it starts to branch out. So the question still in my head at this point was, so are they real for everybody or not? And how does the government actually play into this? So at this point, there's more or less a couple different branches of people that agree or disagree upon, do they genuinely believe that they are real or not? So it's essentially split down like 3 different paths is what I found. There are people who say like, no, they're not real, but it's part of our heritage and it's part of everything. So like the president of Iceland, he more or less, he attributes the population going up of Iceland and like the success of Iceland to a big part of this lore, because people are attracted to it and people like believe in it. It becomes part of their life. So in my head, it's like, is that, I don't know, in terms of their government, I don't want to be judgmental. I don't really know if that's necessary. I don't want to use the term exploiting because I don't really think that that's appropriate. But is there something going on where they understand that this isn't necessarily a real thing, but because people believe in it, we're going to use it to kind of boost our financial whatever.
It's like for tourism, it like draws people in, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so and there's it's kind of even more than that though, I feel like. And again, I'm not going to be able to articulate this with examples because I have to kind of give them to you. A good one is this: Bjork, the singer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she says that she's like, yeah, so like if you want to get signed to a record label in Iceland, you get there and they're going to ask you if you believe in elves, and if you say yes, you get signed, and if you say no, they're not going to sign you on their label.
Wow.
So it's a little bit bigger than tourism, because I mean it actually does interfere with the livelihoods of so many people in such a real way that it can make or break certain things about your life.
Huh.
And so, yeah. But so that's the third part, right? They say like it's no, we don't necessarily believe it's real, but it's part of this heritage, and it's it's part of our history and all that. Then there's people who still deny it. They say no, this isn't real. But they very clearly 100% buy into the superstitions that are associated with it. So like, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if that's real. But also, yeah, you can't build that road. Are you kidding me? So, but then there's a big chunk of the population, and they're like, these are absolutely real. Have you seen one before? No. But they're real, like duh. And it's very clear that that's how they believe in it. So from all this information, what I gather, at least for Iceland, is that it kind of seems to serve as a placeholder for like religion or even like karma. Like you have to like live life well, and more or less you don't do bad things, and you don't disturb nature, and you don't but it's kind of like a karma, like don't be a turd.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It seems, because we're talking about elves, it seems kind of wild, but then if you think about it in context of things that are part of our culture, even Christianity, like I'm not at all a religious person, and I never have been, but the idea of like, I don't know, burning a picture of Christ or something, or breaking a crucifix, still kind of, it's like, oh, I probably shouldn't do that, right. Like just in case, even though I don't believe in it, there's still a part of me that's kind of like, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah,
that's a perfect example. Actually, breaking a crucifix, because none of us would break a crucifix. Yeah, but I don't think any of the three of us are actually aligned with a religion at this point. So,
would you guys build a highway over a crucifix?
Yeah, probably.
I think I probably would.
Yeah,
I would have to ask for permission from the neighboring. What do we have out here that are equivalent of elves? Trolls.
Trolls are a Norwegian thing, I think, right?
Yeah. But actually trolls came up in this too. Cool. A lot of these terms, I feel like they're defined by like, dwarves are these guys, but they're also the equivalent of an elf in this way.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about that recently in some of the other conversations we had. But anyway, so I guess from here I was kind of like, okay, well, I still don't have an actual answer. And so in my head, I was like, all right, well, where do elves come from, and why are there some that are really tall and some that are small and some that are good and bad and all this stuff? So more or less, this is kind of what I came up with. So 11th century Scandinavian poets, they would write about elves initially as like not a placeholder, but it would be more like a symbol for fertility. But they would also acknowledge that they were both dark and light elves. But this was supposed to more or less align with angels and demons from what I can tell. So again, this does kind of align up with like normal Christianity stuff, in that there's going to definitely be like a godly presence and a devil presence, angels and demons. And I think they just have different terms and then slightly different definitions of what these are, which I think is true for a lot of religions. I think a lot of religions have really big similarities, and I feel like, again, this does seem kind of like a religious practice in a way to me. So, and then not much long after that, I want to say it was like, I don't know, 12th century. There's pictures and stories of like dancing elves with men, and I think that was supposed to be kind of, there was like a weird dancing ban. I don't know why exactly. I think it may have to do something with sexy time. But the idea was the elves were like, no, we're going to do what we want, which I think is also where the kind of there's kind of like a sexy kind of vibe to elves in a weird way, like a nymph. You guys know what a nymph is?
Yeah, it's a really sexy elf.
A really sexy
elf.
elf.
Are supposed to be sexy?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought nymphs were just like tiny spirits.
They're like fertile, like dancing women that can live forever. Also, they can if they bone a god, their offspring can live for like, they'll be immortal.
I think so they're like probably the root word of nymphomaniac, right?
Yeah, so that's like someone who likes to do sexy time stuff.
Joe, you saying sexy time really gets me going.
Yeah. Hey, do you have one of those Dobby socks? Put it away. I'm giving you a lesson right now. Eventually, Christianity made its way to Iceland, and there was an old folktale, it was, from what I can tell, and I don't understand really much about folktales, but it was kind of like a bad thing. It's like, you don't say this, it's kind of rude to say. But in this story, Adam and Eve, they hid their unwashed children from God. So I think they made little mud people or something.
Adam and Eve did?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And then when he found out that they were lying to him, he said, anything that you feel that you can hide from me, I'm going to hide from you. So he took their little elf children, the little mud men, and made them invisible.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's where that idea came from.
Do you think that's from when Christianity came to Iceland and they had to kind of reconcile the two?
Yes, exactly. Because from the Christianity side, it sounds more or less like that figure, like those figures would just be damned to purgatory forever. They couldn't be in heaven. They couldn't be in hell. They're just going to be in the nothing land, which is why they're invisible.
That's really neat.
And then the next thing is that in Iceland, they celebrate 4 winter holidays.
Like 4 Christmases?
Pretty much. It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas Day. And then, New Year's is one of them. And then it's Winter Day. It's like there's 4 of them. And then during that time, you celebrate by having like an elven bonfire. There's a whole, like, it's understood that elves at any given time, like you should leave food out for them to make them happy. But they might just come into like your house or like your barn and just throw a wild party at night, which is cool. But then here's the next thing that kind of guides me back in that Christianity thing is that if you go to a crossroads in the middle of the night and you wait there, they might pop up and offer you a deal.
No way, like the devil.
Like the devil, right? So if you resist the thrall, then they'll reward you with something. But if you don't, then they might come back and try to, like, you know, they might bring you treats, but they might come back and try to steal your kids. Which again, that also aligns with Christmas, right? Like Krampus, right?
Oh, totally.
Or even or even if you want to like dull that down a little bit, the naughty list. Traditionally, the naughty list said that you would go, and if you were a bad kid, it wasn't that you didn't get presents; it was that you had to go work as an elf for a while.
Oh, really?
Like in the Christmas, you would actually go and he would take you and you'd have to go back to the North Pole, and your job would then be to make toys for the good kids for the year.
And we should do that.
Yeah. It's great.
But then, teach them a little lesson.
So the next
learn the value of hard work.
That's right. Perspective. Yep. Perspective is key.
It's gotten soft.
Yeah. Millennials,
culture. Yeah. But also the idea of the foods and treats and cakes and candies. Does that remind you of any kind of elf?
I mean, like a Christmas elf. Oh, Keebler elf.
There it is. So let's just take a nice little break to talk about the Keebler elves.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have Keebler elf lore right now, Joey?
It's not lore, but it's mostly just something I thought was fun to look up. So, the other day at lunch, Roger and I, we were talking about the California raisins and how they have fun names. I don't remember any of their names.
I remember some of them. Oh no. Was it like Tiny Good Flavor? I think was one of them.
Yes, yeah, Tiny Good Flavor, something like that. Yeah,
they're all terrible. They're terrible names.
Yeah. But these guys have names too. Now, my whole thing about this is, you know, we've spoken, Kevin told us about Loki and Norse stuff, and Roger spoke about Lord of the Rings, and these elves tie to both of these really well, but also in a weird way, they tie to you. And so
to me, the listener,
to you, the Roger.
Oh no.
Okay, so let me tell you about these guys.
What about to me, the Roger?
They tie to you, the Zach. So there's Zoot and Friar Tuck and Mama Keebler.
Wait, these are the names of the elves?
Yeah, and then Buckets, who threw fudge on the cookies, and Fast Eddie, whose job it was to wrap the products.
What?
Flo is the accountant.
Is that true?
Yes. There's Doc. There's Zach, the fudge shop supervisor. Elwood ran the dough. But one of them's name is Roger.
Is that true?
There's one named Roger. I don't know what he does.
Do you think I was named?
Is that the only normal one?
Well,
I mean, Zach.
You're the jeweler. That's what it says.
Jeweler.
Sam. My brother's name is Sam. That's good. Sam's a peanut butter baker, and you're the jeweler.
What do you think that means? I put jewels on cookies?
Maybe maybe that's what so like on a Keebler cookie, they have chocolate chips, but they also have like the little M&M ones.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
those
true.
are those are elf jewels. I don't know.
I wonder what the chances are that maybe my parents named me after that elf.
Good.
I mean, my parents are huge cookie fans.
Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah. Love them.
Wait, don't you have like little elves painted on the wall in their living room? Or, am I wrong? I have a vague memory of seeing some sort of painted figures on the wall.
Yeah, there are some painted figures on the walls, but they're not Keebler elves as far as I know. They are bakers, though. I think it's a big mural of two men baking.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
What about that brand you have on your right butt cheek?
The EO Fudge brand?
Yeah.
I never knew what that was about.
I liked those EO fudge. Like that's like the wafer with the black fudge in the inside, right?
Whenever I'd ask my parents about it, they would say I just sat on a hot cookie. Yeah, those are good cookies, though. You're right, Joey.
Yeah, they are. All right, I'm back in focus. Show we have things to get through. So, okay, next thing. The hidden people are a symbol of pride. They're pure like nature. They visit your dreams, and they're frequently depicted wearing green. And I was thinking, all right, well, that kind of segues us into the other type of elf: green, nature, like good, and that made me think of like Link.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, is Link an elf? Because he has pointy ears. And he's good with a bow and arrow. And I looked into it. He's not. But pretty much he is. He's just like a fictional thing. Because he's like, from like Hyrule or whatever. So he's like a Hylian.
I think, isn't it a thing? I could be wrong about this. But isn't he, maybe it's one of the Nintendo 64 Zeldas. And he's part of he's part of a village of people that are a different race than he is. And nobody really knows exactly where he came from, right?
I don't know, but he's supposed to be one of those like fabled heroes, right?
Yeah,
so,
the hero of time.
Yeah, so, I don't know. But there's another game also where there's a parallel universe, which is like common. So for people who don't like Zelda stuff or anything about Link, there are different stories that they released like this whole map about like there are different parallel times and stuff like that can more or less it dictates why different inconsistencies with the story could happen because there are different. It's like James Bond. There's different Links.
Yeah, in every age there's a hero, so it's not the same. Link isn't always the same person. It's almost like a title.
Yeah. So there is one of them where they go to another. It's like a Hyrule equivalent, and in that one, they're like other elves or like whatever, not elves, I guess. And they are depicted as being. They're not like good or bad, but they're kind of like right in the middle. They'll just do whatever they want, and they have darker hair and stuff, like a drow. And so I was thinking, okay, well that's interesting because like the original fairies that were depicted in any books and stuff, they all had dark hair. They weren't all blonde.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then I started thinking about, okay, well what's a drow? Where did that come from? And a drow comes from more or less Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gary Gygax invented them in 1986, and then there's this guy R.A. Salvatore who made this character in 1988 whose name is Drizzt Do'Urden. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that.
He's an author, right? There's a whole series of books.
He's an author, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then he would write for like Dungeons and Dragons stuff. There would be like books of like fiction books, and then also there's like campaigns where the character is in it, and he's like kind of become a famous character to the point where there's a free book on Audible, and it's read by a bunch of celebrities, which includes Weird Al Yankovic and Ice-T.
Is that true?
Ice-T, yeah. I actually listened to that book like a year and a half ago.
That was very good.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. The good thing about him, though, he's not a bad drow. He's like a nice drow. He's supposed to be he was intended to be like a sidekick guy. But if you're interested in that, go check it out. Anyone who's listening, because Dungeons and Dragons is good old fashioned fun.
Do you remember what the book is called?
It's just called. It's something about Drizzt. It's like the teachings of Drizzt or something like that. I could probably find out actually. I have a little thingy over here.
So this isn't a sponsor or anything, but just in case you want to really get knee deep in that lore hole, it is called The Legend of Drizzt: The Collected Stories by R.A. Salvatore, and it's read by super all-star cast. We said Ice-T, Al Yankovic, David Duchovny, Dan Harmon, Felicia Day, Sean Astin, and a bunch of other people too. So yeah, go listen to that. All right, bye.
We talked about Norse mythology already once before. So there's the 9 worlds, and they lived alongside dwarves. They're not gods or anything like that, but they're depicted as like radiant and beautiful, whereas dwarves are like working. They're like, you know, like smaller, like working guys. And then there's like the Greeks. They had the nymphs, which live forever, and they're depicted as like young, carefree, sexy ladies who had elven traits. But again, I think this aligns with like what we see in like especially the Tolkien universe, which is they live forever unless they're killed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and that kind of aligns with that. So then 14th century Scotland, there's a thing called Elfshot, spelled Elfschot, and more or less it's a curse, and it originated by this whole story about chicken thieves, and the elves were like, no, you can't do that. And the term
wait who was the chicken thief? Not the elves?
It was you.
I stole chickens.
I knew it.
And elves.
Don't bullshit us, Kevin.
Let me smell.
I'm not
let me
trying
smell
to
your
bullshit. I just want to.
Kevin, let me smell your hands.
Yeah, here.
You got egg all over your
Smell
head
like chicken.
again. You smell like chicken.
Smells like chicken.
Because I stole the
We'll forgive you. We're going to forgive you this one time. Everybody gets one free chicken pass.
That's my crime. That's my crime for this week. I stole some chickens.
But you're going to give them back, though, right?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of already did some stuff with them.
You baked them in a cake.
Yeah.
So Elfshot. Elfshot is... So the term itself is like a synonymous term with a sharp pain or a projectile, which is why when they were drawn, they were shown shooting arrows. So when they would curse you, they weren't literally shooting arrows, but that's where the bow and arrow thing came from.
Oh, weird. So can I go back really quick?
Yeah.
So elves thought that, well, if you did something bad, like stole a chicken, it was believed that the elves would cause you pain to get back at you.
Right. In Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you stealing elves' chickens, or is it just any kind of crime the elves wouldn't stand up for it?
It was like crime, but I think because specifically it was like a crime against like nature.
Oh, got you. So it's not like I'm stealing the farmer's chickens. I'm stealing wild chickens.
Yeah, I think so. But I also could be wrong. So I don't really know. I don't really know. But let's just say if you steal any chickens, you're going to get elf shot. Yeah. And they're going to do it cool too. They're going to turn it sideways like a gangster movie.
Do you think they'll spin all the way around and then like not look down the sight also?
Like a 360 no scope?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Like one of those.
That'd be tight.
360 no scope elf shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in the bones.
That's what you deserve.
Yeah. It's true. But yeah, so that's where the full circle Legolas comes from. So apparently Tolkien is the first guy that depicts elves as actual 6-foot humanoid figures. Well, not humanoid, but like tall human
like
style
human
figures.
Size, yeah.
Yeah. However, it is debated and I think kind of accepted that he took his idea for elves from Beowulf.
Oh, really? So
yeah, which is kind of cool. Like there's this text called the Royal Prayer Book, and in this Royal Prayer Book, there's 4 of them, and it's like 8th century Anglo-Saxon texts, and in that book they use the term elf, and it can mean Satan, and they also mean, and if they talk about a male elf, they call it an incubus, more or less. So that goes back to all that other stuff, but because again it is like the old like Beowulf era like Anglo-Saxon texts, all the terms that they use, they're kind of like what's the term? Is it kennings? Is that where it's like 2 words put together? It's like so instead of being a sun, it would be like bright ball.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that
think
term.
it's the term.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so like it's just a way of describing it. So like pants, you would just call them like leg shirt. Like, so they have like terms that they would describe different iterations of elves, like shadow walkers and stuff like that. And he took those allegedly and turned them into what the modern, our version of what a commercial elf, a human-ish kind of figure is.
So in Beowulf, they call these just a variety of evil figures elves. Is that right?
They call different terms for different types of elves.
Okay.
From what I can understand, yeah.
Gotcha. And are those like, they're not necessarily based on the previous ideas of elves that we've talked about from Iceland or from Scotland and stuff? It's kind of a new interpretation?
I think it's a different interpretation, but again, because it seems that a lot of these figures kind of came out of like different, I don't even know what to call it, different countries talking to each other, different religions, different whatever else. They all just seem to kind of hybridize into different ideas that were like branches off of different ideas.
It's like variations on the same theme, right?
Yeah. So like
are you guys familiar with the idea of the collective unconscious? Or no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the collective subconscious? Mm-hmm. It's like the idea that people in totally far-flung cultures not always, but consistently have the same like archetypes in their cultures and in their religions. The ideas of ghosts, or in this case, elves. Even cultures that don't necessarily communicate, they share similarities and the ideas that we all draw from like one collective well. All of humanity, even if they're not talking, they have the same kind of foundation for a lot of their beliefs. It's kind of like that, right? So
didn't they do a thing on an island? They took like a bunch of people and put them on an island for a year, and they still came up with some weird concept.
Oh, I don't know.
That the rest of us did.
Maybe. That's really interesting. I think so. I should look that up.
I do have proof that that's true, though.
Yeah.
From my own personal life. And I'll explain. Whenever I was a kid and I was like, I don't know, 10 years old, and there's an episode of The Simpsons that I wanted to watch, I would turn on the TV at 7 p.m. and it would always be the one I was thinking of.
That's it. That's proof. That's insane.
Yeah. Because whatever distant culture and whoever's running the TV service on the other side of the world also felt the same need to see the episode with
Flaming Moe.
I really do actually like that episode.
Are you sure you just weren't putting in your Simpsons VHS, Joey?
I did actually have. I loved The Simpsons when I was a kid, man. I did have the original Christmas special, and I'd watch it a lot. So it's possible.
In The Simpsons, isn't the dog's name Santa's Little Helper?
Yeah, see, full circle.
Full circle.
I have one last thing that I want to make, and it's an official claim. I'm going to be the first person to claim it.
Wow.
All right. And this is a Joey Ling original. You guys are watching history unfold before our
I have a front row seat.
Yeah.
Roger, can you like lean over a little bit? You're much bigger than me. Okay.
Do you want to sit in my lap?
Can I just get on your shoulders real fast? That's equitable, I feel like, if I'm on top of it.
There we go.
I want you guys both to lean so close you can feel my breath.
I'm ready.
I'm unpleasant. It's not unpleasant, but yes.
Okay. So there is a chain of islands called the Faroe Islands. Faroe, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's Faroe.
Faroe. Mm-hmm. And it's around Scotland, Ireland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland. But because of all of the different, we were saying, all the different cultures coming together, we're talking about a little bit of Scottish history, Irish history, all this stuff. I think that is the original home of the elves.
The Faroe Islands?
Faroe Islands, yeah.
That makes sense.
That's my original claim, as I think that's where they're from. And if you think about it, like fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
So you think that's the home, and they would journey from there to all those different surrounding cultures?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is it. That's my original claim.
The story checks out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Did you know that Pharaoh means a litter of pigs?
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, or to give birth to specifically piglets.
Wow, that's a good pig fact.
There's tie in somewhere with elves.
Golden pig people. Golden pig chariot.
Yeah.
If you didn't get that joke, you should have tuned in last week.
Yeah.
Check out that Loki episode if you want to get all the hot jokes.
Hot golden pig action.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that's my my brief history of elves, guys.
That's really good. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much more attracted to them are you guys?
I mean, there's so many different variations, though. So, like, am I attracted to like Tolkien beautiful elves, or am I attracted to ale fudge elves? And the answer is yes.
Okay, let me ask you this question. All right, I want you to think of the hottest elf you can right now. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you got it in your head?
Yeah.
You like what you see?
Yeah, I like it.
There you go.
I like it all right.
Yeah, so you're one of us. We're gonna have a weird convention.
Yeah.
That was your ploy, Joey, is just to convince everybody that you're not weird for liking elves.
Did it work?
You were really harping on how sexy they are the whole time.
Yeah, it's true.
Like super sexy things.
It's true.
Do you think you're more attracted to them because they're a little mischievous? Is that your type, you think?
I don't know. I don't know what I like anymore.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
I'm a mess.
If there was anything that really got me on the side of elves and really got my motor running, was the fact that they really defend the chickens.
Yeah.
Thanks, elves.
What kind of elves do you like the most? Do you like the cookie elves or like the nature spirit? Okay, so they're kind of like nature defenders. Good. Yeah.
The nature well, specifically the chicken ones.
Yeah.
I like the ones that defend the chickens.
Yeah. I like that too.
In all those Zelda games, if you attack a chicken,
hey, that's true. The other chickens attack you back.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey, did you know in the first? You ever notice how in the first Zelda he has a cross on his shield, like a Christian crucifix cross?
I have not.
And the original NES Zelda, because he's supposed to be a knight from the Crusades, and then they just kind of dropped that whole idea after the first one.
Interesting.
Unrelated.
What is the villain in the early Zeldas? What is the fight?
It's Ganon. He stole
Ganon's
Zelda.
in there too?
Yeah.
Do you think Ganon's an elf? He's got pointy ears too, right?
He's probably a drow then.
Yeah, he's probably a drow. He's got dark hair. He turns into a pig. So going back to pigs, yeah.
Pharaoh.
Yep.
Pharaoh Island.
Yeah, I think we're onto something.
We got to trace this down. We got to track this down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I'm too lazy to do that. Maybe we can just go on YouTube and find Matt Pat from Game Theories.
Game Theories, yeah.
Yeah, he'll figure it out.
Yeah. Somebody can figure out
anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's probably a listener. So
he's
one of our 4, which includes the 3 of us. So, well, do you guys have any other questions about elves that you'd like me to answer? I feel like I'm a very strong authority on all elf things.
Yeah, give me a minute. Let me think of one.
What I wanted to bring up while you were talking about that story, Joey, I did look up. Because I knew that elves were relevant to my whole story with the Loki thing and the Norse mythology and the connection between there. I wanted to see what specifically, how specifically it was connected to bring up. And the only thing I found that I was able to read was a line that said that elves are fairer than the sun, something like that. So I think it is really like they're just supposed to be, by definition, the most attractive, sexy things out there.
But that made a jump, right? Because in the Icelandic stuff, they weren't necessarily beautiful and radiant. They were just small tricksters, right? Or were they still beautiful and radiant even then?
I don't think they're beautiful and radiant then. I think they're little stinkers. Kind
of little earth figures, right?
Yeah, so I think like the Norse stuff, the Beowulf stuff led to the Tolkien stuff, and that's the one. That
makes sense.
Boy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's where the beautiful elf came from.
And they're shiny and they're beautiful and there's like lights behind them and they talk soft and
then there's also the elves that come from Iceland and from Scotland and they're just like they're little dirty nature figures, right?
Yeah, which I also like.
I like that a lot too. I might even like that more.
Yeah.
I think I would rather date a dirty nature elf than a beautiful radiant elf.
Yeah.
But for real, I think that's true. I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
That's sick. Get out of here. I'm just kidding. I support you. You can like whatever you want.
Thank you.
The first set edition is Turkey. Okay. The Loki stuff is Norse stuff.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
Beowulf stuff.
That's what he's saying. So it comes from the Norse stuff, and it goes into the Beowulf Anglo-Saxon stuff, and then from there into the Tolkien stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Tolkien stuff goes into the Gary Gygax stuff.
I mean, I can get kind of history nerd on you if you want. So the Norse, the Vikings settled after the fall of Rome. They settled on the northern coast of Europe and then traveled down into kind of northern France. And then from there, they became the Normans, and the Normans invaded England, where they started the Norman Saxons, where, you know, the British culture is born out of. So Tolkien is, through that lineage, connected to the Norse like root. So it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. You can cut that part out though.
Everybody loves Norman. I think Norman's one of the names of the Keebler Elves, so we gotta keep that in.
Yeah, we gotta keep it in.
Again, they all wrap up. All the stuff is connected.
Yeah, it's very good.
Norman's the older brother
of the Keebler
Elves. Everybody
Elves?
loves Raymond. And the Keebler Elves.
No, his name is what is the older brother's name in Everybody Loves Raymond? It's definitely not Norman.
Nelson.
No.
Brad Garrett.
Brad Garrett's the actor. Brad Garrett also was very nice to my grandma once, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
He seems like he's probably really nice.
Thanks, Brad. To our second listener, Brad Garrett, we appreciate him.
It's crazy we have so many like famous people listening to this.
Yeah, it's weird that we only have 2 listeners, and they're both celebrities.
That's pretty.
Both A-list celebrities.
That's mean. I like them both. They're A-list in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they were elves, they'd be the pretty kind.
Yeah. That's a fact.
All right.
Cool. That was good.
How long ago do you think Everybody Loves Raymond was done?
I mean, early 2000s, I would imagine. Right?
I was watching. Well, I mean, there must have been reruns. I know you guys think I'm kidding. I genuinely like that show.
Yeah,
no, I know you do.
But I think you like it in concept. I don't think you. When was the last time you sat down for a hot episode of Everybody Loves Raymond?
I watched it when I was, I think, 23 was the last time I was watching it.
Yeah, and I think that doesn't count because I watched Becker well into my 20s, and I recognized that it wasn't a good show, you know. But you just watch it because it's on at the time.
No, I would. If it was on, I would be okay with it. I would put it on. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was when I was, that girlfriend I was seeing at the time that I didn't like. I'd go to her house and then she would just let me watch what I wanted on her TV. So
do you feel like maybe you were using her just to get to Everybody Loves Raymond?
I think I was using Everybody Loves Raymond as an unhealthy escape from a bad relationship. Everybody Loves Raymond. It's nice to have love.
I think you just liked it because every time you put it on, it was the episode you wanted.
Yeah, that's true. It's the Flaming Moe's
episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. Raymond opens a bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bleeding Gums Murphy's there.
Who was voiced by Brad Garrett. That's incredible. Full circle.
That's great. Yeah. All right. Well, should we call it, guys?
Yeah.
His name was Robert.
Robert. That's right.
Robert. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was from 1996 to 2005. Almost a full 10.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you tune in next week, we're going to do an episode on Everybody Loves Raymond lore.
Oh, I love that. Can that be it, though, for real?
Yeah, probably.
For my birthday. If you don't do that, for real, can you do that for my birthday?
Yeah, for your birthday, let's do an episode on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, that's so good.
A deep dive into the history. Good.
All right.
Well,
Roger, you have to watch more than one episode if you're going to do that.
Can I just skim the Wikipedia page?
No, I want everything. I want all the details.
If you had to pick one on here, you can choose between, you're going to watch Pat's Secret,
Ooh.
Tasteless Frank, A Date for Peter, or Crazy Chin.
Oh, I mean,
which one are you going to go for?
I think that's a pretty clear choice. Yeah, Crazy Chin, no doubt about it.
Oh, wrong. It was the wrong one.
Damn it.
Pat's Secret was going to really open your eyes.
That sounds very juicy.
I've never heard of Secret. I would love to hear one.
Yep.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Great. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
On today's episode, we were lucky enough to include the totally jazzy and super totally sweet music of Totally Totodile, which can be reached through soundcloud.com/totally Totodile. That's D-I-L-E. It's your favorite Pokemon, and now it's also your favorite producer of all time. Please check out their other super rad songs. There's several SoundCloud pages. It's all full of rad stuff. You hear ukulele and you hear some guitar, and it's really well put together. And Totodile's a super nice person. super open for like taking suggestions if you want to hear covers or if you want ideas for other new songs and whatnot. So please go check it out. Please go talk to Totodile. Very, very, very cool. And just remember, if you don't catch them all, you've caught a respect, and that's more than any old gym badge could ever prove. So thank you to you, and thank you to Totodile. We choose you. Just describe your feelings about elves now. Go.
The most attractive, sexy things out there.
What about the smaller, like Keebler elves or like Dobby?
I guess there are things to be attracted to in Dobby.
Would you have sex with an elf, Kevin?
I think I probably would.
Wow.
Okay.